As I mentioned in the last chapter, faith is not merely mental assent about something. Let's camp out for a moment in a passage from the book of Hebrews. By faith, Abraham obeyed when he was called to go out to a place that he was to receive as an inheritance. As he went out, not knowing where he was going, by faith he went to live in the land of promise, as in a foreign land, living in tents with Isaac and Jacob, heirs with him of the same promise. For he was looking forward to the city that has foundations, whose designer and builder is God. By faith, Sarah herself received power to conceive, even when she was past the age, since she considered him faithful who had promised. Therefore, from one man, and him as good as dead, were born descendants, as many as the stars of heaven and as many as the innumerable grains of sand by the seashore. Hebrews chapter 11, verses 8 to 12, ESV. Please rewind about 30 seconds and listen to that passage again before proceeding. Did you do it? Okay, I trust you. Let's proceed. That whole chapter of the book of Hebrews is one worthy of study, since we generally know it as the Hall of Faith chapter. But that term gets thrown around so much, we forget that it is the faith chapter. The main thing that jumps out at me from looking at it is that faith requires obedience. Abraham didn't take time to think about it. He didn't go consult all his spiritual mentors to get a consensus on what he should do. He didn't take a poll on Facebook and ask all his social media contacts to let him know what they thought. The original passage in Genesis tells us that when God called him, Abraham left his land. But not only that, he left not knowing where he was going. If you're like me, you have to admit to yourself that everything in us fights this act of obedience, and we don't like stepping out unless we know where God is taking us. In my experience, whenever I've begun speaking a prophetic word for someone, I have no clue where I'm going with it until I start to share the little bit God has already shown me to say. I open my mouth and share the little bit I know to share, and as I do, more enters my spirit or comes to my mind to speak, and then more. Like a chain link, it just keeps coming, and when I'm done, I usually can't help but think, man, I'm glad I stepped out and delivered that. But when prophesying, often you don't even have the whole message until you step out and begin to share that first link in the chain, and then the rest of the chain starts to come out as well. Sometimes we mentally know that God heals and we give mental assent to the scriptures, but we don't actually step out and pray for a sick person. The obedience required from faith would have us go for it and not know where we're going sometimes. I've had instances where I prayed for someone with one eye open in case what I was praying for really came to pass. I have to admit, I had thoughts running through my mind like, what am I doing? And I didn't want to miss it. There's nothing wrong with mentally doubting things, but there's something wrong with not obeying God with the thing He's compelling you to step out and do. Sometimes a doubtful thought goes into our head and we assume that because we have doubted, we have sinned, even if that doubtful thought came and went in just a split second. We think that because of the doubtful thought, we have sinned and have failed to act out or pray in faith. As a result of this moment of doubt, we think we will be punished and our prayers will not be answered. I will never forget something from the climax of the movie Ghostbusters. The 1980s one, not the horrible reboot one from 2016. Many of my generation saw this movie, the 1980s one, in their childhood. So if you're too young to remember the movie, let me set up what I'm talking about. There's this woman, man, dude, monster thing that the four main Ghostbusters have set out to annihilate. This androgynous being tells them that they will be destroyed by whatever they imagine. Suddenly, out of nowhere, comes this big, giant, King Kong-sized Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, walking through the streets of New York City. Three of the characters look to the fourth one, played by Dan Aykroyd, as he explains that he tried to think of the most harmless thing possible, and the Marshmallow Man was what just popped in there to his mind from childhood. This was now the way they were all going to be destroyed, all because Dan Aykroyd's character let this thought enter into his mind. Doubt is not like that, my friend. Doubt is not accidentally having a thought pop into your mind saying, this won't happen. Real doubt and unbelief comes when, like the opposite of obeying in faith, you act on the doubt and don't step out in obedience.